from Overland Park, Kansas, this is GovLove, a podcast about local government. GovLove is produced by ELGL, the Engaging Local Government Leaders Network. You can support GovLove by joining ELGL and taking advantage of access to events, resources, and other networking opportunities. Visit elgl.org to learn more about membership types and join today. I'm Lauren Palmer, a partner with EverStrive Solutions and your host for this episode. Today, my guests are Grant Mayfield and Sheila Shockey from Shockey Consulting. With offices in downtown Overland Park, Kansas and downtown Kirkwood, Missouri, Shockey Consulting helps ordinary people, elected officials, and government professionals reimagine their communities. We're going to talk about Sheila's role in helping Grant's GovLove origin story, and we'll hear their insights on current trends in local government. So Grant and Sheila, welcome to GovLove.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thanks for having us.
We are very glad to have you all and excited for our conversation today. But first, we're going to start off with our signature lightning round to get to learn a little bit more about both of you. So Grant, I'm going to start with you. What genre or era of music best describes your personality?
Yeah, I have a pretty diverse taste in music. So I'm going to say probably punk rock a little bit. I'm a kind of classic punk rock fan and have been known to be kind of an antagonist. And I would also say probably maybe a little country, I love the storytelling behind country music. And I feel like as I get older and mature a little, that becomes a little more important to me. So I like
the juxtaposition of the punk rock and the country music.
I'm telling you, there's more.
Painting a picture.
There's more deep down.
Okay. All right. Sheila, what about you? What's your
I love 90s gangster rap. And I don't know if that has anything to do with my personality, but I think that usually surprises people about me since I am almost 60 years old. And it probably does have a little bit about my personality. It's kind of, again, storytelling, right, Grant?
Yeah,
so
right.
I like to tell stories, and I like the beat, and I like the kind of ongoing, kind of angst and Rage Against the Machine kind of attitude.
Yeah.
So
I love Rage Against the Machine,
I do
by
love
the
them
way.
also. So I think 90s gangster rap would describe my personality.
That's so awesome. Snoop Dogg is like
He's so popular now.
moment.
He is.
And with the Olympics, and so my daughter, who is 11, I think she was 10 at the time, kind of fell in love with Snoop Dogg, and we were trying to explain to her, Snoop Dogg is from our era. We like Snoop Dogg. And she was all panicked,
I'm not cool.
Snoop Dogg is your age? Is he going to die? Mom and dad are not that old, okay, kiddo?
Yeah.
Stop, mom and dad. So anyway, that's interesting that you said 90s rock. Everybody loves it. All right. Next question. Sheila, we'll let you take this one first. What's something you're reading, watching, or listening to that you recommend to GovLove listeners?
Well, right now I'm listening to The Grateful Dead because I'm headed out to the Sphere in Las Vegas to see the Dead and Company in May. And I'm also reading, I've just read the book, The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. And I also just wrote an article for ELGL on the Morning Buzz about that and how that's a great leadership guide for local government.
Thank you for that plug for Morning Buzz.
You're welcome.
I hope our listeners will take a look at that. I'm very jealous of your concert at the Sphere. Have you been there before?
No, but friends have been there, and they said it's a life-altering experience, so I'm pretty pumped up about that.
Have you been there?
I want to do the graphics for
I want
the
to so
Sphere.
bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not cool. I don't get out. That's awesome.
Yeah. We need more work in Vegas.
That's true. We need to
There you go.
anyone out there that needs consulting groups, we are both available.
Awesome. Grant, what about you? What are you reading, watching, or listening to?
Yeah, so I recently found an old stack of books that I was given in college and told to read, and I didn't. And one of them I pulled out and I read the back of it. I was like, this sounds cool. It's called Soul of a Citizen, and it's by Paul Loeb, and it's kind of uncovering the stories of these activists that we know about and how they originally got engaged in the work that we know them for. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's so neat. Like Rosa Parks, the story we tell is she had a long day at work and she just decided, you know what, not today. Her feet were tired. That's the story that we learned in school. It was a much longer process, and it was an intentional activation. She had been taking trainings and talking to other activists. So it goes all the way into to some of those stories, and it's really neat.
That's awesome.
I would highly recommend.
Soul of a Citizen.
Soul of a Citizen.
Yeah, it definitely sounds up the GovLove alley, and I've never heard of it before.
100%.
So thanks for the tip.
Yeah.
All right. So Grant, back to you. What's the next thing you're working to accomplish from your bucket list?
Yeah. So I'm not a huge bucket list person, but I went back through like, what were my goals for this year? I always set annual goals. And one of the big ones was writing more, both for like professionally, like for blog posts and stuff like this, but also just kind of personally. I used to write a lot more than I do, and it's a fun way to kind of work through some stuff, and even like a little fiction is fun.
Yeah, I was like, so are we talking journaling or fiction writing?
Honestly, everything. At this point, it's like open a blank document and see what comes out. But then I have a couple stories in my head that I've been like, okay, what is it like to actually, I don't know if it's a short story, if it becomes a novel, who knows, but trying to commit more to that. It's very fun.
Okay, I can't wait to read your novel.
Yeah, forthcoming in probably like 2045. But
It's like, that's like Q2 of this
Yeah.
year. Haven't gotten to it yet. Okay, well, awesome. Thank you. What about you, Sheila?
Well, this year I am going to walk from Portugal to Spain on the Camino Trail.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm doing that in September. And I'm also working on a documentary film about the Uber drivers, what they like to do when they're not driving Uber for fun.
You are doing a documentary film about this?
Absolutely.
Like,
I'm
oh my
doing
God,
that right
I
now.
know about this.
Yes, I'm announcing it here on GovLove.
Exclusive.
I have so many questions about that. It will take us down a wormhole. So maybe just indulge me for a minute. So how are you finding your subjects for your documentary?
It's
You
very
taking all the
simple.
Uber
I
rides?
just go on a lot of trips and jump in the Uber and, hey, how you doing? And get to know them. And Bill, my partner, speaks Spanish. So if they don't speak English, we've got another language we can add in. And we ask if it's okay for us to film them. And we ask them questions about what they like to do for fun. And so the first person I ever asked said that they show professionally chinchillas. They raise and show chinchillas. So I thought that was fascinating.
Nice.
So I'm a documentary filmmaker on the side.
Okay, we can't wait to see when your documentary comes out.
Probably
Thanks for
40,
giving
45.
us
So we'll see.
the GovLove exclusive announcement.
That's right.
And I totally glossed over your lead, which is the Camino Trail. Did I say that right?
Yes, the Camino Trail, St. James. It's like a pilgrimage, but people take it from all over the world. And Molly did it. Molly Saunders, who we work with, did it last year. And so I'm going with her this year.
How far of a hike are we talking
It's
here?
over 100 miles. Yeah, so it's
goodness.
10 days. So
Okay.
yeah, it'll be great. I'm going to have to start working out, though. Got to tell you.
It sounds
Get some good
great
shoes.
and terrifying.
Yeah,
And,
Yeah, I'm jealous.
It's pretty exciting. So I won't be here during September, so
okay.
Grant will be running things.
Good to know.
You better finish that novel in Q2.
Yeah,
because
oh my
Q3, you are running the biz.
Yes.
Okay. Well, great. Thanks, both of you, for sharing a little bit about yourselves. And we want to learn a little bit more. Let's get into the heart of our interview. So I love to always start by asking my GovLove guests to just tell me a little bit about your career path and how you landed in your current roles here at Shockey Consulting, supporting government partners. So Sheila, we're going to let you go first.
Okay, well, I started my love for government back as a child. My uncle was a county commissioner, my dad was a city council member, and my mom was a school board president when I was in high school. And so our family has been always involved in local government, and I saw that as a great community service and saw a lot of good and bad with that. But kind of had that ethic in my mind. I did argue a lot in high school, so my teachers told me I should go to school to be a lawyer, and went to Washburn University, and the books were just too expensive to go to law school. So they shifted me over and said, hey, what about public administration? We're starting this program. And I'm, oh, that sounds great. So I worked at the state level and thought, oh, this is cool. I like public policy is interesting. And then I got an internship at Prairie Village and really realized that local government is where it's at, not state and federal. Local government is where things happen, and really fell in love with that. And then got into consulting because couldn't really move around in the relationship I was in. They did not want to move to another city, and that's usually what you have to do when you're in local government, right? And so I went to work. I loved engineering and infrastructure and public works, so I went to work for an engineering firm for 3 years, and then had a baby and decided I would just start to do this on my own and work out of my house, and that was over 26 years ago when Shockey Consulting was born. So that's my path.
And as somebody who has like started this journey in the last year, I admire so much more what you have built here over the last 26 years. That's pretty incredible.
Thank you.
I feel like you left out some parts in the middle.
Oh.
Going from baby at the dining room table to like, here we are.
Well, I would say that most people that know me really well say I'm the most overconfident person they've ever met. So something is really great about that you think you can do something and you just go do it. And that's really what it is, just one step at a time, figure it out, ask a lot of questions, be curious. If somebody wants to help you, you let them help you. Answer your questions and just one foot in front of the other, and you make a lot of mistakes, you learn from them, and you just keep on going.
That's awesome. That's really a local government mantra, too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Figure it out.
Just figure it out. It's going to happen. So you can do it. Be overconfident. Just do it. It can happen. That's right.
Okay.
I love it.
Grant, what about you? What path led you here to Shockey?
Yeah. I would say really my like personal interests and professional life have always kind of been intertwined. I was like a city nerd from a very young age.
Very young.
Yeah. Sheila's known me since I was, 11, 12 years old. And I thought I wanted to be an architect and then an urban planner, maybe a politician. And as I kind of grew up in Overland Park, that was, I didn't know really what was out there. So I went to school in St. Louis, Midtown St. Louis, very different from Overland Park. Moved there in the summer of 2014, just in time for really the birth of the Black Lives Matter movement, and got a whole different education from just what I was studying in school. And then I bounced around to corporate communications in New York City. And at the same time was like on Zoom calls or FaceTimes with people back home who were doing non-discrimination ordinances in our local area. And really sat with that and was like, why am I working 60 hours a week at my job and then in my limited free time trying to help out with this effort? So I kind of got called home and I worked in campaigns for a while. I ran state legislative campaigns and I was a lobbyist as kind of a side hustle for like environmental causes, and watching the difference between state and local government, watching just the way decisions got made at that level was fairly...
Our listeners can't see this. Sheila
We're making
just made
faces.
like a sour face.
I've never seen somebody roll
They're all
their eyes
reading
that hard.
newspapers and they don't know what's going on. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I wanted to be involved because of the public service. So as all this is happening, it's now COVID. It's like 2020, and I'm reading kind of for fun my city's budget book, like my local city.
That's really nerdy.
Oh,
It's so nerdy. And
tell me you're a GovLove without
right. I was like, I want to know how this place works. Like, how are these decisions getting made? And my roommate was like, there's something wrong with you. So I called Sheila, and I called a former Shockey employee now at Overland Park, Aaron Oleg, and was like, is this normal? And they were like, well, not for most people, but have you heard about KU's MPA program? And I looked it up and I started realizing what jobs were out there for MPAs in local government and applied, got in, ended up at the city of Olathe as a budget analyst. And now I came over here to Shockey in was it July, August? And it's been great. I started at the city of Olathe to get budget experience, knowing that that's so essential. Got a lot of that under my belt in 3-ish years, and then decided, okay, I need to learn more than just the numbers. I need to kind of broaden my horizons a little, and consulting work has been great for that because every project is different. I mean, it's city, county, state. I'm like managing a state grant at the moment, which is I'll just say it's hard to work with grants and have that be your name as well. It's very confusing.
I've never thought about that.
me
It's
neither.
so annoying. But no, every day is different, and I think that's what makes local government fun is you're dealing with different problems all of the time, and you get to kind of dig into them for sometimes a month, sometimes a couple years, but you're learning all the time, which I love.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing about your background. It's amazing how many people we interview for GovLove who have similar stories of having bumped around in sort of government adjacent things before they find their passion in local government. So I'm glad that worked out for both of you. Sheila, I'd love it if you tell us just a little bit more about Shockey Consulting.
Great.
And the kind of work that you do here with local governments.
Happy to do it. I really liked what you had to say at the beginning. We should write that down. We have Taylor in here. She can write that down for our marketing. You did a great job there. But basically, Shockey Consulting kind of started out with the idea that a lot of technical decisions are made at the local government level without the right people being at the table. And so how can we bring more employees, more community members, elected officials, have them to understand more of not just the technical aspects of problem solving, but all of the social and economic aspects of that. And so we really started out mostly doing community engagement. A lot of that had to do with urban planning, long-range infrastructure planning. What should we do to solve this problem? And then we started to add staff members that kind of had other skills and abilities to really help think more strategic about what are the priorities in a community, how do we implement those priorities, and how do we make our organizations as local governments work better and fortify them to be more prepared for the future. So that's about it.
I love it. Now, Grant hinted at this. The two of you go way back. Sheila, we know you played a part in helping Grant develop his love for local government. So Sheila, tell us a little bit about that origin story. How'd you two
Oh my
meet?
goodness, this is so cute. I can't even stand it. But so when Grant was a young man, he was I think 10, 11, something like that. His mom was my accountant, and he would come, and I worked out of my house at that time. So Julie and I, we were in the basement working every day, and Grant would come over with her, and what are you guys doing? Very curious little kid. What's happening? Where are you going? Sheila, where are you going? Can I go with you? Absolutely. You want to come along? Absolutely. So Grant would tag along with me to meetings, and I said, hey, what about some public meetings? And my son would go to public meetings with me sometimes and hand out name tags and stuff, but Grant did not just sit there and hand out name tags. He was very curious and jumped right in, and of course, I thought, wow, this guy, he's going to do it someday. He's going to be a leader in local government. I could tell. So, just a great person. Been kind of following his career and where he is and keeping in touch. And so we're so glad to have him here. One of the aspects, or one thing I did with his class at Holy Trinity in Lenexa.
Go Mustangs.
Oh, go Mustangs. They were the hardest group I've ever facilitated in my entire life. They had a Future Cities group. I think you would maybe be fifth graders or sixth graders or something like that.
Yeah, close to middle school, yeah.
Oh, Lord. They were the smartest little group in my dining room, and they had all these great ideas for how cities would work, and probably some of them have been implemented since they're genius ideas, but they could not agree to anything. And so one of my strengths in life really is facilitation, and this group was very difficult. So I finally got some snacks for them all to eat, and I think that kind of helped calm them down a little bit.
Yeah.
And then,
Facilitator tip.
yeah, get the
Snacks always
snacks.
help.
Yeah, absolutely. And they did great. So
Yeah, I looked up, by the way, one of the people in that group, my friend Mary Sizemore, is now a transportation engineer
There you
for
go.
Oh, so great.
Milwaukee, I think. So it wasn't just me who ended up in local gov.
That's
Mary,
awesome.
where are you? If
Mary.
you're listening, we want you on GovLove.
Yeah, I'll
That's
have to give
right.
her a
Call
try.
in.
Good story. Okay. That's incredible. I love this. Hearing this story, I'm wondering, like, Grant, what took you so long? Like, you had great exposure as a kid. Why'd you go, like, bop around wasting 3 years in New York doing corporate communications?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You could have graduated from high school probably and just
I know, I'd be a city manager by now. No, I think I didn't know what I wanted to do because I have so many interests. Like, I love infrastructure projects, hilarious. Like, I'm a stormwater nerd, amongst other types. But I also love the people work and how we tell stories. So I liked communications. I was a comms poli-sci major. And I think I started out probably trying to do the like coolest thing that was most impressive to tell people. And that was like move to New York City and work in Midtown Manhattan. And then it was like run these campaigns, like start from scratch. And at a certain point, it's like, it doesn't really matter what people think is cool, because I think the local government work of getting, like you said, Sheila, getting the people together in the room and coming up with those generational projects, like that is really cool. Even if when people hear what your job title is and it's, I'm the deputy city manager at this town that you might not have heard of, they're like, okay, what does that mean? It's really important work. It's really cool to us. I think that's what probably took me a while.
We're undercover cool.
Yeah.
Local government people. We don't brag about our jobs. We know
Yeah.
how cool we are, so we don't have to talk about it.
Yeah. And I think there's just a lot of people that don't know it's out there. Like, there are so many different jobs in local government. And people may not be aware, like, oh, I want to be an accountant, so I'm going to look for a job with some big Fortune 500 company. Like, we need those in local government, and you might become a finance director or an assistant city manager, or kind of follow that path.
Yeah. Do you remember like tagging along to these meetings as a little kid?
Oh, for sure. I asked my mom about it recently, and I think the one I remember best, I think it was in Greenwood, Missouri.
Greenwood, Missouri, we did their comp plan.
Yeah. Okay. I couldn't remember if it was a comp plan or a corridor study, but I remember like the flip charts, and we had all these Post-it notes, and I can remember asking questions like, I think Sheila or maybe Molly was like, hey, just sit next to me and you can ask whatever you want. And I immediately jumped in and was like,
You started facilitating.
yeah, I was like, now why, okay, you said this, why do you feel that way?
And this is like age 11?
Yeah, I'm fully like
Okay.
like a fifth grader maybe.
Okay.
I don't know why it took me so long, frankly.
I agree. You had it back then.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We kind of started talking about how, you obviously have these great roots. You were in love with cities from an early age, but it took you a minute to kind of figure out city management as a career option. And I mentioned, like, we hear this a lot on GovLab, people who are like, it was state government. I was going to go to DC and work on the Hill. Nobody ever talked to me about life in City Hall. So I just want to have a conversation with the two of you about that. Like, from your vantage point, what trends are you seeing in local government recruitment that might help us get more people interested earlier in the future?
Yeah. I think so. In all of my free time, I've taken up board work. So I'm now on the board of my alumni association at KU, and
Against my advice.
correct. It's going well.
He's got to learn.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
going well, though.
Oh,
Good
that
for
one
you.
is probably the Homes Association.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
we'll come back to the neighborhood association. We'll see. Jury's still out.
Okay, time out. You're on the CUSIMAT alumni board.
Yes.
You are also on your neighborhood home association.
Yeah, and so I'm on my neighborhood association board. I'm the treasurer. This is a recent development in my life, and I've been asked to join my HOA board, my condo board, as well as the finance committee of the chorus I sing in. So it's
You know too much.
I know.
Sometimes you're
care.
too good, and then
Run
people want
away.
you. You have to act like you don't know what you're talking about.
I'm trying. I'm gonna make some really big mistakes
Okay, good.
and take a little breather. But anyway, back to your actual question.
Sorry, yes.
One of the things that we see is just kind of a general decrease in people applying to MPA programs. And so I think there's a question there of like the track of, okay, I want to work in local government. Is an MPA necessary in order to do that work? Are there other ways that you can get that through experience or an MBA or other forms of training and education? I think we also are seeing just kind of getting people in the door. Hiring is a challenge everywhere, but in local government, we often see like people rise up through the ranks, which is frankly sometimes a best case scenario because you know all parts of the organization. So making sure those pathways are really still there for people. In grad school, we used to always hear about like, oh, the city manager track, and it was assistant to assistant, maybe deputy somewhere, and then city manager. And as you look at, I mean, I'll ask the listeners to just pay attention to when you see a new city manager appointed, what is their background, and did they follow that track, and is that still the right path? I know John Nalbandian, who's a classic kind of KU alum we hear from all the time, former mayor of Lawrence, told me one time, it's not like a career ladder, it's a career jungle gym, which I lean on all the time. You can go up, down, left, right. You're just exploring your interest and your next best step. But it is tricky. I think it's kind of a changing environment, and we don't know where we're kind of headed yet.
Do you think that there is more as a profession that we could be or should be doing to get people, young people, maybe not even young people, mid-career people, interested in local government or the MPA?
Yeah, I think I kind of combine telling people about jobs in local government with teaching people how their government works. And so I kind of envision one of the things we can do, and I don't know if it's a responsibility or just an opportunity, is getting in front of groups of students at various stages. Not just like, oh, I'm going to go talk to a bunch of college kids and tell them to apply for this MPA program, but go talk to a bunch of third graders and take the fire truck with you. Keep them interested. Obviously. But explain like very basic early government stuff, like what's a city, what's a state, what's the federal government, like early civics education. And then as they get older into middle school or high school, you can be talking about one of the things I hear all the time is like, why didn't I learn how to balance a checkbook in high school? Like, why don't we learn the difference between sales tax and property tax and like charges for services? I think if we can educate students about that, it's also a great opportunity for us to tell them about what we do. And you know what? Not every kid is going to want to be a local government professional. Like they want to be a baseball player or a pop star or something. But
obviously not as cool.
Right. But you'll catch the kids like me earlier who are a very specific type of nerd and would be interested in following this from the very beginning.
Yeah. And look, I'm interested in creating better informed citizens and elected officials too.
Yeah.
Like maybe some of those people you touch at a younger age, they're not going to spend their career in local government, but they might run for office. They might join a board or commission. They might develop an interest that they play out in a different way. Sheila, I'd love to bring you into this conversation. You had a similar experience of being a local government legacy with all your family members who were involved in the government in different ways. But you spent some time in state government before you found your way back to local government. So tell us about that early exposure to public service and what ultimately drew you back into city government.
I think for me, I kind of agree with Grant. It's important to go out and speak to young people very early on, and I've tried to do that in rural schools and inner city schools because I think growing up in a small town, I didn't really have any exposure to what different jobs could be. You know, you were going to be a farmer, a farmer's wife, you might work at the bank or be a teacher. And I knew I would be horrible at all of those things. So it was important for me to go back and speak to people about, you know, what the opportunities are in government. And I always start out with, I make everybody get up and have them go look out the window. And I say almost everything that you see outside local government makes a difference in terms of the decision making. And wouldn't it be cool to be part of that decision making, where that goes, what it looks like, how it functions. how well that business does. Oftentimes, local government is there to support and provide wraparound needs and services and ideas to help those local governments. And so that kind of gets people tied into that. And I think for me, I didn't understand that at all when I was young. I did understand by the time I was in college that at the state level, the services just weren't, you didn't get to really work one-on-one with people, and you didn't get to work that closely. What I was doing was working in mental health services and in lobbying and at the social rehabilitation services. And so it was kind of high-level thinking, but I didn't have any experience with how that was impacting anybody locally or personally. And so, at the federal level, I'm really proud of my brother. He works for the VA, and he helps veterans every day find out what their benefits are and how they can connect with those, and here's their stories, and probably gets in trouble for talking to him too long on the phone. But I think your question kind of, how did I decide local was the thing? And I think it was because it's so connected to everything you do, you feel, you see in your community. And while the state and federal government can really mess that up, local governments can take action to build a place that is meaningful to everyone. So that's kind of how I got there at the local government level.
That's great.
Awesome.
You guys both gave me like a local gov warm fuzzy.
Oh,
Yeah.
ooh.
So let's stay on that theme. I would love for each of you to tell me about a project that you're currently working on in local government that has you energized. So maybe it's the grant. Do you want to?
Yeah,
Okay,
aren't they all?
Grant.
Yeah, no, I think...
And we also have another grant working for us. We have a grant.
Yeah, it's
two
the first
grants
place
here.
I've ever worked with 2 grants, so very exciting.
It is.
I would say the thing that has been most exciting is we worked on like a local county's housing plan recently.
Housing's hot right now.
Yeah, it is.
It is
Big
hot.
local gov topic.
And like I said earlier, like my favorite thing is diving into a new topic and like, okay, I'm going to understand this from the ground up. So getting to understand the housing kind of landscape was fascinating to me. I don't know why, like policy ecosystems or something we referred to in grad school, and it's always stuck with me. And like really laying out, okay, who's got the money? How do they get it to where it needs to go? Who has authority over that money and the processes and procedures behind it? Who's setting the vision for all of this? And housing, as you both know, is all levels of government. It's not like a police department is pretty, okay, you might get some federal funds, but you're running your own police department. Housing is like nonprofit, for-profit, public sector, and it's this really complicated mix. So like one of the things we got to do was develop kind of this framework for who are all the players in this specific county's housing landscape. Here are the major developers, here the agencies that have authority over this issue area. Here's where the money comes from. These are the banks that are going to give people financing for their homes. And that was very cool to kind of uncover all that and have a big conversation about like, okay, what can we control? Like, as I talk to people that work in housing, it's always, there's only so much that you can do right now in this current framework. So finding those levers that you can pull is sometimes not as easy as you might think it's going to be.
Yeah. Great example.
Yeah.
Sheila, what about you? What's something you're working on that's
Well,
exciting?
Yeah, so one of the things that both Grant and I are working on is an elected officials master class. And
I've heard about this.
yeah, so we, a few years back, really started to understand better that a lot of the things that we were trying to put in place with our clients could be the right direction to go, but if you don't have good consensus and good leadership on the elected officials' part, it can kind of fizzle out after a point. And so we thought, hey, that's a piece that we're missing really is the leadership. And while elected officials always get that onboarding and they know the rules and the regulations and the programs and how the city works, This is more individually, how can they become a better influencer, a better listener, a better leader, so that they can figure out what their agenda really is and think about what their legacy they want to leave behind and how they can go about doing that in partnership with others. And oftentimes they feel like they're on their own, and this elected official masterclass with other elected officials helps them to realize that they're not alone in their struggle, but also they're not alone in their implementation of their vision. So it's been kind of fun.
Sounds great. Sheila, something that people might not know about you, they probably do if they worked with you, is that you're a futurist.
That's right.
And I had to look this up, that the study of futurology.
Yes.
I would love to explain to our listeners what that is, and then tell us some trends that you are observing or forecasting about the future of local government.
Sure. I mean, being a futurist sounds super cool.
It does. I envision like a spacesuit.
Yes,
and
I
outer
should have a
space.
hoverboard and whatnot. But, I say, obviously my March Madness bracket would be much better right now if I could predict the future. That's not what futurology is. Futurology is about thinking about the past trends and how they impacted the economy, our society, our laws, our regulations, how we function as people, and then looking at things that are happening today, and then forecasting into the future how that might impact the decisions that we make today, might impact our shared future and what we want to try to create. And the American Planning Association is really good about coming out with new future trends every year. Some of them are near trends, some of them are kind of mid-level trends, and some of them are really out there kind of trends. Yeah, which are fun to read about, but they kind of crack me up a little bit. But they'll probably happen, and probably will be in the next 20 years. And so we use those trends that a lot of organizations have, and we work with our local governments to have them think about those and basically prioritize them in a way that tells us, is this likely to occur in our community, and will it have an impact on us? And so we kind of come up with different trends, and we do this with like departments or organizations within the local government or their elected officials or their community members, and we have them think about what scenarios might occur and how these trends might play out, and if you had certain strategies, which ones would be the most sustainable, they would work in any, or resilient, they would work in any of these scenarios. And so those are the strategies you want to try to pick, are the ones that will be the most resilient regardless of what happens in the future. And so we do it by these topic areas that we bring in data and trend analysis and help them with that. So every morning I get up and I read 15 articles about the future. Some of them are really out there, and some of them are things that you guys probably, every local government person reads, and a lot of them are about housing and transportation and the economy. I'm a kind of a dorky economist, and I love reading stuff about the economy. But I think it's important to think about the future when you're trying to plan, because any decision that you're making, you're not making that for yourself and today, you're really making that for future generations. And so if you don't think about the impact on future generations when you're making that decision, you're not doing a good job in local government. And so this idea of futurology helps with that.
Very cool. I want to learn more about this habit where you're getting up and you're reading 15 articles.
Yes.
Is it like the same 15 publications every day? Do you have like a feed that's giving you 15 articles?
I have a list, and I just go through and I have them all kind of marked on my phone. I do this in bed before I get out of bed every morning.
Okay.
So I wake up early in the morning. My little dog is sitting next to me on the bed, and I just kind of start to read different articles. Some of it comes in a feed. I read like The Economist. I have a list actually that I kind of pick from, and then sometimes it comes into your feed. Like if you're reading something else, then, oh, look at that. And then you go off on that. And I don't really try to vary it daily, but I do try to vary it monthly. Like I'm looking at different topics monthly.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of my thought, is I want to make sure I'm kind of keeping track of different topics over the year, but I might get kind of down a rabbit hole in one day. I might be 15 articles about something bizarre, and I'm all down on the 8th article reading more and more.
When you say you've read some stuff that's really out there, can you give us an example?
So a lot of stuff, I think, planners love to think about, we're going to be have a city in Mars, you know. It's like a lot of it has outer space and stuff like that. And although, you know, I was born in 1965 and we'd already been to the moon and that kind of thing, it's hard for me to think about, you know, basically having a community or building a community on Mars. It takes 2 years to get back from Mars. Like, I'm not going on the spapeship and coming back for 2 years with anyone. I'm just not doing that. So it just, you know, those kind of things to me seem like they're really out there. But the articles I read about it are interesting because a lot of the same ideas or applications. It's almost like your future cities. A lot of the ideas are kind of out there because they work in Mars, but they could work here as well on waste management and, you know, just things like that. And so, I don't know. There's some of the ideas are a little out there, I think, but not necessarily for, you know, a community in Kansas that we work in that now, you know, but something to think about in the future.
Yeah, opens your horizon.
Yeah, it just makes it's more fun.
Cool. Yeah.
Great. I'm going to pivot a little bit. When we were preparing for this podcast, you said something that really stuck with me, and that was that you are obsessed with the idea of tiny democracies. There is a lot of attention right now about what's happening in Washington, D.C., so I would love to hear more about the trends that you're excited about on a smaller scale.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm like everybody else. I turn on the news, and it's about the federal government, and I'm like, I don't know how to fix these problems, and I'm not going to pretend I do. But I also go to lots of like public meetings, and I started going, as I mentioned before, to my neighborhood association meeting and realized, okay, the problems that this group is happening are so similar to what I see with local government governing bodies, especially small ones. And I'm trying to figure out, like, why are they having these problems? Why is it difficult to make decisions? Why can they not go from disagreement to consensus? Why, like, you name it. And what I'm starting to see is just like people are people. And at the federal level and to some extent the state level, you have a lot of process and a lot of bureaucracy, often for good reason. And it creates this process around how we make decisions. But in the local context, sometimes it's people talking to each other. And people are, I will live and die by this, like fundamentally irrational. Like no matter how logical we think we are. And
I used to argue with my economics professor about that.
Really?
That people were irrational. So rational thought is not the way people act economically.
So it's not ever a matter of just, I made the perfect argument, so therefore everyone's going to agree with me. We know that's not true. And what I feel like we need more of are these democracy behaviors. Because my HOA, my neighborhood association, is an elected body. It is a decision-making body in the same way that the United States Congress is. And the better we can get at building consensus, resolving conflict, setting vision, I think is a huge one, the more those groups become effective. And it's easy to kind of learn those lessons when it's, I don't know, my board is like 6 people around the table and we're all neighbors. We have everything in common because we live a block or two from each other. I joined that board. I attended one meeting and then I got asked to be the treasurer, which
of course you did,
is pretty emblematic of where we're at. And I said yes because I was like, okay, this is a testing ground for me. This is a place to really dig in and understand how people work and see if I can learn new skills about how to get this elected body to something more productive and to participate in it and catch my own biases and my own triggers. And like somebody leaned over to me the other day, one of my fellow board members, and said, hey, on this treasurer's report, why'd you do it this way? Why didn't you do it this way? And I felt myself get really defensive.
Yes.
And then I was like, why am I defensive? Like, I made this in an hour. I told people I wanted feedback. And I mean, that's a very human response. And if we can figure out how to help people work through that,
Absolutely.
I think we'll all be a lot better for it.
I think you've really touched on something here. I haven't ever done an interview where we've talked about this, like neighborhood associations as a like experimental ground for
Yeah, why
local
not?
governments.
It's
But
a little
yeah, right,
laboratory.
it's all just our humanity. I love what you said about that.
Yeah.
And Grant, I know that you have some thoughts and observations on managers developing their personal style. Maybe you could just share some of that with our listeners.
Yeah. I think what we talked about is I've been to ICMA, I've attended conferences, I've been to grad school, and everyone's favorite thing is like bring in these esteemed city managers, these local government professionals who have 40 or 50 years of experience, and they're going to give you their words of wisdom. And it's really, really helpful. But I also started to notice, like, they all talk about like finding the right fit. Like, they will all tell you, no, I'm not the right city manager for every single community. I'm not the right, especially at that senior level, you need somebody with experience in certain issues that are going on in that community. And you need somebody with the right temperament to deal with your other senior staff and with this specific elected body. But then as I started my career, you're kind of just expected to fit into whatever organization that you're in, and you're trying to be everything to everyone. And I'm like, where's this step in the middle where these incredible people kind of established that style for themselves? And to what degree was it intentional, and to what degree was it just kind of their well, I did these things throughout my career and now I'm really good at this, and that makes sense for this next community I'm going to go work for. But I'm struggling a little with how do you craft that personal style, and that's something I'd like to kind of see more from our profession.
Yeah, what suggestions do you have? Are there things that we could be doing to better help early career professionals develop that style?
Yeah, I think the places that I have got it are more from mentorship. Like Sheila is a great example of, like, we have big conversations all the time and we see each other like several times a week. So there's lots of opportunities for that. I had an incredible mentor at Olathe, Jamie Robichaud. Another,
Shout out, Jamie.
yeah. I feel like we're both just name dropping today.
We
That's
are.
great. Some of my favorite people.
That's
Yeah.
right. She's awesome.
And she taught me a lot about, like, when difficult decisions would come up at work. Like, I'm not sure if we should go this route or this route, like working through that. And it was never just like, oh, here's the right answer. It's, well, how do you think about that? What values are you prioritizing? And that helped me a lot to kind of craft, like, what I think is becoming my personal style. But I think that's a big way, is finding those mentors, and for mentors to recognize that, oh yeah, this person that I'm trying to cultivate is a person with unique ideas and beliefs and vision, and like helping them find that, because it's not intuitive all the time.
Yeah.
One of my mentors had said to me, he said, you is good, be yourself, be authentic, figure out what your values are, and always let them guide you.
Yeah.
And that's your personal style.
Yeah.
That's how you govern,
That's great.
how you lead. Yeah.
You is good.
You is good. Think that, feel it.
Grant, be a model for our listeners. Tell us how you describe your personal style.
Yeah, I think Sheila tells me all the time it's curiosity. And I really like that about myself. I think that,
It did kill the cat, but
yeah, well, they got 9 lives.
that's true.
I think that's a big piece of it, and allows me also to be creative. I mean, before we started recording, we were talking about like all the different ways that we could do innovation in local government, and I think curiosity kind of leads to that creativity. And I'm a people person. You know, some people lean into the technical aspect of local government, which is very important, especially to have those kind of base skills. But so much of it is people work and relationships, and that's the part I think I'm trying to to cultivate a little more now is being kind of like a convener.
Yeah.
That we're all going to get together, and we might not know where we're going yet, but we're going to chart a path that we can all agree upon, and I think that's a big piece of it too.
Love it. Sheila, do you want to weigh in? How do you describe your personal style?
Oh my goodness. Well, let's see. My personal style. I don't think about that. I do think about every day. I use good. I do. I'm me. Sometimes that fits well with people. Sometimes people are like, nope, thank you. And so I can only be myself. I can't be somebody else in the way I handle things. I can watch other people and observe and go, that's a good way to do that. I value truth, or I value hard work, or I value caring for others. And so, try to follow those types of things in decision making or how you handle people. And then also just my personal style is, hey, I'm human, I'm going to make a mistake. Own it, and ask for forgiveness and learn from it and move on to the next thing. So I think that's my personal style. I don't know. And I like humor. I'm kind of fun. I like to have fun.
You're fun. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Sheila, there might be another enthusiastic 10-year-old out there listening to this episode of Gov Love in the backseat of their grown-ups minivan. Sometimes I make my kids listen to Gov Love. So what advice do you have for any young members of our audience?
Look out the window. Everything that you see, you could be a part of in local government.
Oh my God, that's so good.
Good. Great. Awesome closer. Well, we are going to leave it there. Thank you so much to both of you for joining the Gov Love podcast. Grant, I'm going to give you our closeout. If you could be the Gov Love DJ, what song would you pick as our exit music for this episode?
Yeah, this was hard, but just to continue the confusion about what kind of music I listen to, I'll give you a Broadway track. So punk rock, country, and Broadway.
Okay.
My song would be Beautiful City from the musical Godspell.
I love it. I think you should sing us out.
I don't know about that. We don't need that. But I wrote down some of the lyrics that I loved for this, because it's a city song, but it makes sense.
You're not going to sing them.
Do it. He actually is a professional singer. So
Oh.
We may not reach the ending, but we can start slowly but truly mending, brick by brick, heart by heart. Now, maybe now, we start learning how. And I love this for
great.
cities.
That's beautiful.
Like, we don't know. It's going to be around long after we're gone.
Yep.
And all we can start doing is now. I love that.
I love it too. Great way to wrap us up. So that ends our episode for today. Thanks so much to our guests, Grant Mayfield and Sheila Shockey. Thank you for listening. You can reach us at elgl.org/govlove or on social media at GovLove Podcast. This has been GovLove, a podcast about local government.
We can build a beautiful city, not a city of angels, but we can build a city of men. We may not reach the ending, but we can start slowly but truly mending, brick by brick, heart by heart.